New Thought Media Network proudly presents The Global Heart of Peace's Peace Party. Celebrate the many paths to peace. Explore an exciting life of peace. Embody joyous peace. Come to our weekly Peace Party, Mondays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network. www.ntmedia.org.
Welcome to Peace Party, brought to you by the Global Heart of Peace Initiative. I'm Jackie Harris, an associate minister at Mile High Church. And you know, peace has always been important to me, but as all of you know, in our day and time now, peace is even more vital for us to understand and for us to embrace. So I look forward to celebrating the many aspects of peace that are out there. But today, my topic is peace begins when we stop struggling. I really hope that this resonates with you because I've thought a lot about it over the last few days. And one of the things I thought about is we may automatically assume that certain events that occur are the things that are going to create peace. And the first thing that came to my mind was thinking about the end of the Civil War. When the two generals met, when Lee and Grant met at Appomattox Courthouse. I'm from Virginia, so Virginia history is extremely important for me, or actually stands out for me. But they signed to end the war, but that didn't create peace. That just ended the conflict. And what I think about today, we're living in a time when we just learned that we have created another time when there is not actual peace in the world by bombing Iran. No matter what you think, what any of us think about the right or wrongness of it, it has really affected the peace in that part of the country. There's fear, and anytime you build fear, you have taken away peace, because fear and peace do not exist side by side. So I thought it might be interesting for you if I gave you a couple definitions of peace. The first one is a state of tranquility or quiet. And I believe in our spiritual life, that's the peace we think about most often. The peace that creates tranquility or quiet. Another definition, however, is that it's freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions. And for me, that's a particularly interesting definition because I'm teaching a class based on the work of Michael Singer, his book called Living Untethered. And in that book, he really is he isn't talking so much about peace, but he is talking about how often we give away our power because we think it's something outside of us that is creating the discomfort that we're feeling inside of us. And he calls it the three-ring circus, which is outside influence, the thoughts we have, and then the emotions we have around them. And he talks about, if you're familiar with Buddhism at all, he talks about samskaras. These are things that are learned behaviors that we have, that we carry around with us, and they are the thing that influences how we respond in many situations. Samskaras. It's really a scary word to me even, but it's really speaking to us about the fact. He uses an example. If you have a fear of snakes and you don't let that pass through you, that fear, then every time you see a hose or every time you see something that looks like a snake, you think it's a snake. And so your peace has been totally disrupted, totally disrupted. And that's the outside influence. And then what happens are the thoughts in your mind that just create more and more and more of that negative kind of feedback loop that you have created unintentionally. But he is very clear that what we must learn to do is to allow those thoughts to pass through us. So if you're watching the news and you see things that are disturbing, of course you have the option of turning off the TV, and you can also learn to look at that as an opportunity for prayer. Have a prayer for peace. Have a prayer for peace. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote a prayer for our country that was specifically written at a time when there were wars. You know, you had the Second World War, you had the Korean War, and he wrote this so that people could find some peace around what was going on in the world. So I say to you, when you see something upsetting, don't let it stick to you. That's a samskara. Let it pass through. Because your thoughts, we teach in Science of Mind that thoughts are things, and we're not the only teaching that teaches that. But the truth is, those thoughts become things because we allow them to get trapped in our mind. So I am encouraging you, when you see things that are disturbing to you on the news, in social media, wherever it might be, that you remind yourself that you have the power to not allow it to stay with you, and that you then focus on the good, the peace, the joy that there is, because if we believe that God is all there is, it is that being or whatever God is to you, however you see that, it is only good that comes from that. So as if we can take that in and we can begin to live our lives, we can stop the struggling that we have in our lives, and we can allow that good, that peace, that joy. And as I teach my students, we have about a 5-foot energy field around us. What do you want to spread? Because you're bumping into people all the time. Do you want to spread distrust, dislike, discomfort? Or do you want to spread love and joy and peace? Because I am one of those human beings that believes you have the power to change the world, because it's you have to change your thinking. And as you change your thinking, you can change those around you. There are so many great examples in this book, and of course the first book that Michael Singer wrote was Untethered Soul, and both of them have great examples of how to live our lives in such a way that we can be happier and everyone around us can be happier also. And so the last definition is the one that speaks to where we find ourselves today. And the last definition is a state or period of mutual concord between governments. That's what we want now. And yet it's got to start with us. It's got to start with stopping our own personal struggling so that we can be a beneficial presence in this world. I saw something else I think is interesting to say, and that is freedom from war and violence, especially when people live and work together happily without disagreements. That's peace. And I think that's what we want, to live together in harmony. not in disagreement. Now I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath. And then let that breath out. And close your eyes or use a downward, unfocused gaze. I am so aware of the presence of God in this space right now. Even though it is a digital space, God is everywhere in everything. And I feel God. I know the peace of God, the love of God, the joy of God. And because I know that, I know I am connected to that peace, that joy, that wholeness of God. And I know that's true for everyone in the sound of my voice and beyond. I affirm right now that peace is now. I affirm that each of us gives up the struggle to be right, to know it all, to be the only one that seems to know what the right answer is, that we give that up and that we allow peace to fill our life, joy to fill our lives, so that that can tumble over into all of the lives of the people that we come into day after day after day. I am so thankful for the truth of this prayer. And I can release this prayer now into that law that I know responds yes to what is really believed. So I can let this prayer go and I can let it be right now. And so it is. Oh, take another deep breath. And I thank you for joining us today as we explored what might be a unique aspect of peace and maybe something that you learned that you'll take away from this today. Please join us again next week at 5 p.m. Mountain Time for a new guest and topic, which will be the power of appreciation. And that will be presented by Reverend Christy Semple. May you dance in the joy of a peace-filled life.